This is an adaptation of a 2001 novel, Erasure, by Percival Everett. The film is written and directed by Cord Jefferson in their directorial debut. Got 5 nominations at the Oscars. Again, you may have covered this. Best Picture, Best Actor for Jeffrey Wright, Supporting Actor for Sterling K. Brown, Adapted Screenplay, and Best Score for Laura Cartman, who disappointingly is the only female composer nominated. Once again, I'm sorry to bang on about this, but they really do need to sort out that section because there have been so many fantastic scores by women this year. It's almost like they say, yeah, well, we nominated a woman once and we let somebody win once, and now can we move on? So Wright is Monk, Thelonious Monk Ellison, who is a black professor in LA, who is also an author. His books are respected, but they get very little success. And as you heard from the clip at the beginning of the interview, which I did hear the clip from the interview.
Very funny clip.
They're all put over in that section. Why? Well, because I imagine that this author is black. This author is black. This author is me, as he says. And then he goes to move his books because he says they're nothing to do with that particular, just because that's who I am.
I've moved my books.
Have you?
Yes.
I've done the thing about taking my book off a bookshelf when it's sideways and putting it front facing, of course.
Put it on the bestseller table.
Exactly. So his books are respected but little success. He then sees this up-and-coming, Johnny-come-lately author, Sintara Golden, played by Issa Rae, being celebrated for a book called We's Lives in the Ghetto, which is, we hear a reading from it, which just sounds like it's absolutely full of stereotypes, which is exactly what he thinks. He says, what is that? It's just reproducing stereotypes. It's ridiculous. And in response to that ridiculousness, he ghostwrites a book called My Pathology, which then
with an F instead of
pathology. Yeah, pathology, not just me mispronouncing, literally how it's spelled. And it has all those sort of same stereotypes. Is promptly picked up by the publishers who are excited by this. They think, oh, this is an exciting proposition. It's going to be anonymous. So he creates an author who becomes a former convict, Stag R. Lee. Get it?
Yes, yes. At this point, you're thinking springtime for Hitler.
Precisely so. And then what follows is a very smart satire with some terrific performances, lovely effective score, incidentally, and a very nice line in dramatising the writing process. You, as somebody who is a writer, can tell me whether or not you actually do envisage characters sort of playing out in front of you. But it's very hard to do anything about writing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I thought they did that fantastically.
Yeah.
Well.
So all that stuff is good, and Wright and Sterling K. Brown spot on. I like the way that it takes pot shots at sort of, stereotypes. It also kind of wrong foots your expectations to some extent. And if you've ever had any contact with the publishing world, which I obviously understand is a fairly small niche thing, but if you have, I do think the stuff about editors and publishers and media influencers and all that kind of stuff, even though it's exaggerated satire, there is more than a kernel of truth in it, isn't there?
Yes. Yes, I think so. And as you heard in the interview, although you didn't hear,
haven't yet.
I spent most of my time
talking about
wanting to say very nice things about the movie, but not wanting to sound like some of the terrible, obsequious, ghastly white people in this film.
Yes, and in fact, I believe that will have been in one of your opening questions, won't it? Because you told me that to
definitely.
Me last night, which was actually last night. That did happen when I was having a cup of tea at your house. I do have reservations, and here are my reservations. I think all that stuff about the publishing, about, that book being a success, so I'm going to write this book, I'm going to create this character, it's going to become a huge success. I think all that's good. I am far less interested when the film decides to broaden that palette and to become a more expansive and slightly tender family drama. There's a romance, there's the relationship with his mother, there's all this sibling stuff going in. And now, look, the fact that the film has got a Best Picture nomination means that for some people, that broadening worked. Because generally, to get a Best Picture nomination, you have to please a wide audience. So it's almost like, okay, we broadened it out, we got a Best Picture nomination, so Kermode, you can shut up because it's done what we thought it was going to do. The problem for me is that I think that all that stuff takes the edge off the stuff that I like. So the stuff about the publishing, the satirical stuff is good, but it loses its bite. And it actually, if anything, even becomes a little bit trite when it gets into the other areas of just being a more kind of broadly humanist, observational comedy. And I think what happened with me was I went in with very high expectations because I know a couple of people had seen it, really, really liked it. And I liked the score very much because I've been playing that on Scala. And I thought it started really well. And I thought the cast were great. I thought all that stuff was good. And then I think it loses its way. And it's kind of ironic that that in a story about how in order to become a success, you have to sell out. It's not that this sells out, but I think it sells itself short by sort of moving off into these other areas, which, as I say, hands up, the film's got a Best Picture nomination. Yeah. It's clearly working for some people.
Well,
but
it worked for me. And I think one of the reasons is he's such a buttoned-down character.
Yes.
That it explains a little bit about his family, but it also crucially gives you a reason why financially he needs to make this compromise.
Yes, but I think that is a plot point rather than a... Is there no point of view that thinks that the film would have been improved by being more about the publishing and less about the family?
No, well,
fair enough.
No, not necessarily. I mean, if it had been all about the publishing, I might have thought I'd like to know. I don't know. I just think he's such an intriguing character.
I think he's great, and I think the performance, incidentally, is terrific. And when I did the thing for the Observer a few weeks ago about who should be nominated. Yes, absolutely. Jeffrey Wright and Sterling K. Brown absolutely should both be nominated because what they do is terrific. It's more to do with, I think, it's a format of the film that the film to me felt like it started really sharp and then became slightly fuzzy.